Well, if you ask most of the British racing drivers up and down the country what their favourite circuit is in the whole of the United Kingdom, most of them will say right here at Brands Hatch, and that's where we are this evening. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Brands Hatch, round 4 of the Global Rallycross Championship, powered, of course, by Core. Joined alongside us this evening is Core journalist, photographer, pit lane reporter, and for this evening commentator, it's Tom Hughes. British racing drivers for joining down the country what their favourite circuit is in the whole of the United Kingdom. Most of them will say right here at Brands Hatch, and that's where we are this evening. Hello, good evening of the Global Rallycross Championship, powered, of course, by Core. Joined alongside us this evening is Core journalist, photographer, pit lane reporter. Thanks for joining down the country. What their favourite circuit is in the whole of the United Kingdom. Most of them will say right here at Brands Hatch, and that's where we are this evening. Hello, good evening of the Global Rallycross. What's going on, mate? Okay, so just a quick reminder then to people at home who perhaps haven't seen the parallel qualifying before. It's a format in which the cars line up single file on the grid. They'll then do one qualification lap, and then the fastest will of course line up on pole position for the first race of the evening, which are these four-wheel drive Zara rally cars. So one of these great part of the day this evening will of course be these Zara rally cars, because they're all on equal performance ratios. They're all on equal power, so therefore it's more about, you know, driver skill to see who can get up into that rallycross second round, and of course that supercar final. So as you can see there, just come across the line there for the first of the of the drivers completing their power lap qualifying. They'll all go of course one at a time, and then you'll get a final winner at the end of it. We are of course at the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit here today for round 4 of the Global Rallycross Championship, and we have seen a titan battle so far this year. Jamie has always been there or thereabouts, but he's always seemed to have issues in during some of the races. So Tom, who's your money on then for today's race, as we see series owner Merlin Richards topping the timesheets with still 5 cars left to make their qualifying times, Tom?
I'm unsure, as I'm unfamiliar with the format, but it should be a fun race, fun experience.
Well, it will definitely be interesting to see who's on top here today. Of course, the rallycross section, as you can see here, you've got to run all the way off line here at the exit of Graham Hill Bend, and then come back onto the circuit where that tarmac is. So that's vital that you make sure that you do that, otherwise you will face a penalty. That is the Joker lap area, I believe, as well, but hopefully we'll get someone to confirm that near the time as well. But around we go. We're just hearing that is the Joker lap, so of course you have to do that either once in the four-wheel drive races, I believe, and then twice in the second race, 3 times in the third race. So therefore you need to keep remembering to yourself how many times you do that Joker lap before that you accidentally forget one perhaps, and then that could cause issues with the stewards at the end of the race. So as you can see there, 2 or 3 cars still left to do this Joker lap, in which they will go once around the track and try and find the fastest time. Jamie there, the Finnish driver, one of the only the only Finnish driver here competing in the Global Rallycross Championship. He's popped in fastest so far. Merlin Richards, series owner there, second position. Chuck so far has got into third, and now we're looking at XT there, has just popped into 4th position as Glenhouse comes out of Graham Hill Bend and up towards the final few corners at the top end of the circuit. So Jamie fastest, Tom, heading up to the final dying moment of qualifying.
Yes, the Finnish are very, very talented drivers, as we're seeing here. The Joker lap is, as we see RCB doing the Joker lap, it's turn 3, I believe.
Yes, it is. It's coming out of Graham Hill Bend at turn 3 onto then the tarmac there. So RCB, the last car, it appears, to do his power lap qualifying, one of the vital stages of the day here this evening, because if you don't get the correct power lap qualifying, then that perhaps sets you back slightly for the race in which the qualification is all about, heading into the final few rounds. However, we did see in the last race a car come right from the back of the grid up towards the front end of the field, so it definitely can be done. Right then, that is all the times decided. RCB, great performance there, popping up into second position. The American driver having a storming run there in qualification. But the final results then of the qualifying for round 4 of the GOX: fastest Finnish driver Jamie 21, second fastest RCB 929, the American driver there, popping into second position on his first and final even qualifying run, because each car only has the one run each. Glenhouse 81 there in third. The British drivers making up the bottom half of the field. Glenhouse 81 there in third position. Merlin Richards line up in fourth. Chuck 1551 will line up in fifth position. XT line up in sixth, with Vickers there in seventh. So a definitely strong grid there to keep an eye on. The starting side that you'll start on, just so you can see there on the left-hand chat of the screen, the pole position man will start on the right-hand side of the grid, and therefore we'll get the optimum line, Tom, running down into Paddock Hill Bend on the first lap.
Yes. What class is next? I believe it's the highest.
It's these cars that they're at. It's these four-wheel drive cars that they will head into now for their first race, which will be usually about 5 to 6 laps long. They'll then head into the rear-wheel drive car category, the WRC the rallycross kind of category, which they'll then head into, and then the top half of the field will then qualify for the supercar final. The lower half will qualify for the WRC light category, and then that will decide the winner. And usually we see the winner coming from the supercar category. However, we all remember Suzuka when a massive glitch within the game happened, and then a driver, in fact, from the rallycross light category managed to take victory in that one. So keep your eye out for that. Hopefully we won't have that here today, and hopefully we'll have a nice clean race. We heard that if an incident happens like it did at Suzuka, then the race will be red flagged. So Tom, who is your money on then heading into the overall event today, plus this first race happening in just a few minutes time?
I think a good contender would be Glenhouse 81, as he's very talented, and I know him in another series, and he's always been at the top, so he's always been at podium and consistent, so should be interesting to see. Who's your money on, Luke?
Well, it'll be definitely interesting to see. I think that Jamie has got good consistency with the championship. He's always put lots into this championship. He has, of course, been in every round so far, so definitely key to see that. This is not the start of the race. This is just, of course, the lights will go out here. They'll all come into a 2x2 formation on the grid. It's not Noah's Ark. The cars aren't going in 2x2. They just line up on the grid. In fact, it's 3x3 here at Burns Hatch. They will line up in 2. We'll then wait until the ticker gets up to 1 minute on the top board. Once that happens, we'll be ready and set to go racing. So hopefully it'll be interesting to see how this race develops over time. So Tom, final statement then. You're going with Glenhouse for this first race?
Yes. I'm not quite sure if that's a safe bet, but who knows? Anything could happen.
He is, of course, on the outside, so he might be able to escape the side-by-side contact, perhaps, between RCB and Glenhouse, and Jamie even heading up into the first corner at Paddock Hill Bend. But as the lights go out now, and away we go here then for the first four-wheel drive Zara rally car race, and it's a good start. It appears by Jamie on the inside line. Is he going to be able to just push RCB out? He's coming strong there down the middle. Where is Glenhouse, however? He could pose a threat on the outside, but it appears Jamie's just held on there as they come up towards Druids for the first time. Jamie's in the middle. We've got cars on the outside. That is Glenhouse. He's trying to find a way past Merlin Richards there. Merlin Richards has moved up. It appears, RCB's managed to pull away from Merlin, and Merlin has made a jump on Glenhouse. And where's Glenhouse gone? He's gone down to 4th, 5th, 6th. Oh no, perhaps he's just taken his Joker lap. Yes, he is. We need to make sure that we keep an eye on these Joker laps, because it may because it might appear our car's had a crash, but in fact he has just done his Joker lap, so we need to keep an eye on that in this 4-lap race here at the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. Jam leading from RCB, Tom.
Yes, very interesting to see. Merlin Richards, he started in second, I believe, or third, or fourth. He hasn't made any good progress. However, Vickers Racing,
Jammy, Tom, as they head into Druid.
This should be interesting to see if Jammy or RCB takes a Joker lap this lap, as they have to make. Is it 2 Joker laps or one Joker lap? Yes, okay, 1 Joker lap. Glenhouse 81 has already made that one, so it'll be interesting to see who is next to make the Joker lap. And I believe XT has, which I'm not quite sure, so we'll have to check again, see if he does go off the track. Okay, there.
Well, Jammy and RCB, they're just playing this tactic, get away from the people behind them, and then make their Joker lap perhaps later on in the race when they pulled out that firm gap. However, the cars behind them to watch, Merlin, of course, was very close to these top 3. Top 2 even, heading over before he did his Joker lap, so perhaps that's the driver there to watch out for in this twilight race here this evening. We've got some side-by-side action happening there at the foot of the field, but what we really want to be seeing now is whether Jammy and RCB are still out front and still haven't taken their Joker lap as they head down into Graham Hill Bend. Now we can see on the track map there, that is RCB taking his Joker lap. Jammy staying out though, however, he's going to leave it right until the last lap, Tom, to make that Joker lap.
I believe he is, and we've got another one making the Joker lap behind him. Jammy's strategy could pay, but it'll be interesting to see by the end of the race. Certainly, the Joker lap does throw in a bit something special into these races, for better or for worse.
Well, yeah, the Joker lap, of course, it adds that kind of the element of strategy into the race in which the pit stops don't, because you have to go out there and you have to kind of strategize when you're going to make your Joker laps and when you're not. So do you think, Tom, perhaps these drivers know when they're going to take their Joker laps? Do they have a plan heading into the races when they're going to do it, or do you reckon that they just think of the situation and then see what's going on around them and then have to adapt their Joker laps towards that?
I assume that it would be like pit stop strategies, as in where's the best place to lose time. So I believe Jammy's strategy would be make up time, and then go for the Joker lap at the end.
Well, yes, and Jammy has already made his Joker lap, and he has managed to pull away from the field, and he is now going to come through to take the checker flag in the first race and take victory in the 4-wheel drive rally car Zara race machines in his first race of the evening. Jammy then, the finished driver, my prediction, funny enough, for the victory here today, has taken the victory in the first race here today. RCB, second position. Merlin in third. Glenhouse 81 in fourth position. Couldn't quite get back on terms with the front 3 after taking his Joker lap a bit earlier on. XT.com there in fifth position. Chuck in sixth. And then Vickers Racing there in 7th position. A thoroughly entertaining race, that one, actually, Tom, because it was interesting to see all the different cars making the different strategy choices.
Yes, we certainly saw Glenhouse suffer from that first lap Joker, and Jammy certainly gained from the last lap Joker. So, interesting strategies, interesting race. Coming up next, I believe it's the
it's the 4-wheel drive. It's the 4-wheel drive lights that are going to be coming out next, and after that we then have the road course cars coming out. So these cars will be slightly more powerful than the cars we've just seen, and they will do a few more laps than last time. 2 Joker laps this time around as well, so make sure that you have to do those 2 Joker laps. If you forget to do one of those Joker laps, then that will be a steward's inquiry afterwards. So it's fundamental that you remember to add a Joker lap on per race and not let that one slip your mind. But as you can see, it's still coming up to 8 o'clock here, no, 9 o'clock here at Brands Hatch, and we still have packed grandstands out on the outside. Good to see the fans showing some enthusiasm here for the Core Global Rally Cross brand, of which you can get involved with here tonight. Hashtag CoreRX on Twitter is what you need to be looking out for. We'll read out all your tweets, all your comments, and try and answer all your questions this evening as well, so make sure you get that into us. Hashtag CoreGRX. You can also, of course, go onto the Core Facebook page. We have all We have interviews on there that are regularly updated, news on court and more. And of course, www.courtonlineracing.wix.com/core is the place to go for all your information of the series heading up in the next few weeks' time. So make sure you don't miss any of that action, Tom, as we're heading up now towards the second race of the evening in the four-wheel drive lights.
I believe the cars we're going to see now are in the terms of 206s and Lancia Deltas, I believe, if I'm correct in saying.
And then we've got the top four here, of course, but being 7 races, it will be the top 4 that will qualify for the Rallycross to WRC race that is happening in race number 3, and then the bottom 3 will, of course, take part in the Rallycross light category. So make sure you keep your eye on that one, because that's always very interesting to watch out who will make that top 4. Of course, whoever doesn't make that top 4 will be at a disadvantage heading into that main race final. So make sure that it's always interesting to see which one of the big leaders out front will fall out to that one. So last time out we had Jamie, I believe, who fell out to that last time out at Silverstone. So this time it'll be fundamental to see who will fall foul of that rule here today.
Yes, it's the RX lights coming on soon. And what sort of power do these cars have? Do you
I'm
know?
not 100% sure on that one, but I know that they are slightly quicker than the cars we have just seen, so it's always very interesting to see that. They've got more kind of torque coming off the corners as well, so we should see these cars very much slip around more, really be hard to control, especially around places such as Druid, which require you to get the power down early. It's going to be interesting to see these cars slipping and sliding around the Brands Hatch twilight here this evening.
Should be very interesting. I'm just looking on these stats now, and it's around 300 brake horsepower and 1.2 ton. So very, very light machines, and it should be interesting racing. Of course, we've got different drive trains, such as the 4-wheel drive Evos and Focus. I think I'm not too sure on that. I know that the Suzuki XX4 is a 4-wheel drive car. Certainly different from the Citroen, the 4-wheel drive, the front-wheel drive Citroen that we saw in the first race. So it should be interesting to see how it performs differently and how the drivers adapt to the circuit and car changes. Luke. Luke is unavailable at this moment. We'll just go through the race, the people who've been racing, and see.
Hello, Tom.
How. Hello, Luke. Thank you.
Hello, I just had a very small technical
again.
issue here in the commentary box, but all hopefully is now fine. So, just as I was saying, the Brands Hatch Indy circuit that we've got here today, it's 300 brake horsepower these cars deliver around this circuit. So, it'll definitely be interesting to see that kind of technology being whizzed around this circuit. Of course, the circuit we were just hosting many world-class sporting events. The DTM, of course, raced around this Indy circuit. So do, of course, the British Touring Car Championship. And this evening, it's all about the core Rallycross machines. Of course, these then the 4-wheel drive light category. RCB, Jeremy and Merlin, it appears, will make up the front row, followed by Glen, Chuck and XD on the second row, and then right at the back of the grid, it appears it's Vickers there at the bottom. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see how that falls out. And Tom, who's your favourite then heading into the second race of the evening?
I'm going to say RCB, just for the fact that I know the car and I know the driver. But should be interesting to see. Yep, and they're away.
And away we go. And Merlin on the outside has actually got the run of it, but it does definitely appears it's the inside lines which are working the best today, and Jamie squeezes RCB sideways, and now Merlin has managed to find a way back through on the inside, and if anything, Merlin holds all the cards here because he's going up the inside. Is he just of Jamie coming out of Druids? He's going to get the power down early, and Merlin Richards will take the lead, but Jamie will have the inside line again for Graham Hill Ben. No one's doing their jokers, it appears, yet. Yes, they are, sorry. Jamie has gone off there, but he hasn't lost too much ground to the two leaders in front. Or did Jamie just run wide there? Because it appeared he didn't take the full joker course. Of course, there's 2 joker laps you have to take in this 6-lap race. It's RCB leading, however, from Merlin in second, and then Jamie in third, Tom.
Yes, as I predicted, RCB would come across. I don't know if... Was it Jamie who took the joker lap?
Jamie definitely went wide onto the dirt, but I don't think he went out and took a joker lap because he didn't go too far out wide. But that might have just been the camera angle we got there, Tom. So we'll have to confirm that to you in just a few seconds' time. But RCB just leading by, what, about half a second now from Merlin Richards. He's definitely applying the pressure. He knows this is his best chance to get up onto that rostrum here today. He wasn't there or thereabouts just in the first race. However, in the second race, he's right with them. Now Jamie takes his joker lap. Glenhouse takes his joker lap as well. Now they've dropped back massively from the 2 leaders, but it appears it's between RCB and Merlin for this second race of the day then, Tom.
Yeah, should be interesting to see. Have any of the drivers taken the joker lap in the front? Because I don't believe they have. So they'll be saving that for they have.
Yeah, they haven't taken laps. We're hearing that it was just a that they haven't taken their joker laps out front. So it's between then the 2 front leaders. Glenhouse is going past Jamie now as well, and of course if Jamie doesn't qualify in that top 4, then he will not take part in the Rallycross WRC category supercar finale at the end of it. So he needs to make sure that he gets into that top 4 to stand a chance in that class. He is running third at the moment, and of course there is a big gap behind to Chuck 1551 there in 5th position, so Jamie should be safe there. However, the battle out front, they're still raging on. We're coming up to head on to lap number 4 of the race, the halfway point, of course, in this 6-lap encounter at the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. It is RCB leading from Merlin Richards, and Merlin appears to have dropped back massively from RCB, so perhaps has Merlin taken one or both of his joker laps, and perhaps RCB hasn't yet, Tom. Yeah, we're hearing that RCB hasn't taken a joker lap yet, but Merlin Richards has taken one of the joker laps. That's why he's a bit behind. So now RCB has got it all to do then. He's got, what, 3 laps to go and 2 joker laps to take. So he needs to make sure that he gets those done. Otherwise, risk perhaps penalties afterwards. And we're trying to find it out front there. Jamie is in second position. Merlin Richards there in third. So Merlin's dropped back. Jamie into second. And it appears RCB has not yet taken one of his joker laps, but he's still so far out in front, meaning this time he is now forced to take his joker laps on the final remaining 2 laps. So we're going to stay here with the leader. That is RCB. He's run wide coming into Druids. That's definitely not what he wanted to do. He would have wanted to have a nice clean run there, make sure he got ahead of the field. Yeah. Now RCB takes his joker lap, the first of which he is now taking. Of course, he's got to do a second one after that as well. He needs to wait to get back onto the tarmac until that green painted AstroTurf there on the outside line. Now, where is Jamie behind? Is he in contention? Jamie's right there, and I believe, am I right in saying that Jamie and RCB have now done one each? So this will be the battle heading into the final lap, because both are on equal terms, Tom.
Yes, it should be very interesting to see as we come on the joker lap. Vickers Racing seems to be slower than the rest of the field. I'm sure he'll make it up in the next race. Certainly something to see as they whiz past the slower cars. We're going into Druids now, and the gap is pretty equal between them two. We'll see if traffic holds them up.
Well, it'll be interesting, Tom, to see who's going to get the cleaner run going through the joker lap. If one mucks up this joker lap really badly, perhaps can't get the power down early on the grass, and that'll hand the advantage to the other driver. Merlin Richards has crept up into second, is that right in saying? So RCB's leading, Merlin in second, Jamie's dropped down 2 places. Jamie's lost out big time in this. We've got Merlin, Glenhouse, we've got them all together. So as they come out then of the final corner for the final time, RCB holds on to victory in the Ford Focus. Second for Merlin, third for Glenhouse, Jamie down in 4th, Tom.
Didn't expect that, but Anything could happen in these motorsport races that we see nowadays.
Yeah, so the top four,
Yes.
Tom, will qualify. So the top four there, RCB, Merlin in second position, Gran and Jamie, they will all qualify for the top category, the Rallycross WRC category. And then we have got Chuck, XT, and Vickers there, who will take part in the Rallycross Light category, and that will then be the finale there, sort of thing. The final results will be based on this next category. So that was the important event to get in that top four, and all the front runners, should I say, of the series so far have all qualified for that top category. So expect a very entertaining and a very enthralling finale race to look forward to in about 6 or 7 minutes' time.
Should be very interesting to see as the higher power cars come out of the shed and tear up Brands Hatch. I believe it's 3 Joker laps this race.
Yep.
Yeah, am I correct? Also,
yep, 3 Joker laps and 8 laps of the Brands Hatch circuit. So you need to make sure that you do those Joker laps, because if you don't, penalties will apply afterwards. So please make sure that you do those Joker laps. Otherwise, the head steward will be on your back over the next week. So the drivers now will be taking a small rest, making sure they're getting into their appropriate cars for competition, because during some of the earlier races of the season, it was hard. Some of the drivers found it difficult to understand what cars they were in, but hopefully they should all be sorted with that now, and they'll get into their Titan challenges for the final race, which is about to take place now. So the top 4 cars will be going into the Rallycross WRC category. Of course, the bottom 3 cars in the Rallycross Light category, and this will be the most important race now, the one in which the final results will be set in. So whatever happened in that race, that's sort of the last 2 races have sort of been the qualifying races to get into this one. So the first race is just sort of a practice run for the second race. The second one is where you set your fate, if you must, for the third race, and then this third race is the one that will ultimately decide the podium positions at the end of the event. So please get in touch with us here then this evening. We do have the feed, if you like, on our commentary box as well. So if you have any questions for us, send it in. #CoreGRX is the hashtag that you can send it all to. We'll be reading out our questions, any statements you have, or more here today. It'll be very interesting to see all this action happen. We're going to read out some of the tweets here today. Matt Story has sent one in. Loving the dusk racing this round, makes it so moody. And Tom, we've got to love the dusk. It's really set the scene on the action here today. Seeing the cars flash through shot, headlights blazing, kicking up some dirt.
it certainly is. Seeing the sunset at 9 o'clock at Brands Hatch is...
Definitely sets the scene and makes it a very beautiful sight to go and see. The fans still there, packed out in the grandstands on the left-hand side. The Brands Hatch building also there on the left-hand side. And then there we are. There on the right, in that pillar there, in the Brands Hatch commentary box, looking down at this spectacular sight below us and looking forward to an even more spectacular sight, the sound of 7 WRC spectacles roaring up the Brands Hatch circuit.
Yes, what wonderful cars will we see in the final then, Luke? Do you have any idea?
We've got all sorts. We've got like the Ford Focuses in there as well. We've got very powerful machines in this one, and because the race is 8 laps long, 3 Jokers this time around, the torque will be even more difficult to control. So making sure places like Druids, make sure you get the power down on the right moment to avoid spinning the car. Also, the Joker laps coming out that dirt section, putting the power down too much, you could spin the wheels, could send the car sideways. This will definitely be the hardest challenge of the night for some of these cars, to make sure that they get the power down, because of course some of these WRC cars, they're not suited for circuit use. They're only suited for the dirt rally streets and the stones and the gravel of certain rally stages. So racing these cars on the tarmac, it could provide some understeer, some oversteer. You'll be getting loads of stuff happening with these cars on the circuit. So it's definitely advisable to make sure that you keep your head down, don't get into any trouble, otherwise that could be the end of your race. Because of course last time out, in fact, we've seen on several occasions certain drivers making mistakes very early on during the races and then not being able to find the ground back to recover it because the race is so small, and of course because the Brands Hatch circuit is so small. 1 minute per lap? Well, 8 laps. It's only an 8-minute race, so a small mistake during the first or second lap, that could be the end of your race and ultimately the end of your day.
Yeah, it's a mad sprint for the lead with only 8 laps. I've just found out what cars, and there is a few Group B cars in there and a few lower powered cars.
There's an exciting mix of all different varieties of cars, so it's definitely worth sticking around and watching this one. Merlin Richards, the series head there, is saying he is ready to go. We just saw it on the chat box on the left-hand side of the screen, which is now vacated from your presence. But Merlin's ready. Now is everyone else. We're minutes away, Tom, for the start of the finale of round 4 of the Global Rallycross Championship, powered by Core.
Can't wait. Hope there's a Quattro. Love Quattros.
And funny enough, just as I ended that sentence, there goes the black screen. Here comes the start of the race.
This should be interesting.
So who's your money on then, Tom, for this final race of the day, which will decide the winners' positions and the podiums?
Ooh, I'll have to go for RCB of the Quattro. Just because the previous race performance was quite a spectacle, and let's see if he can continue the streak as they line up to organise themselves on the grid. Yeah,
but something that we didn't mention, Tom, is of course because there's only 7 races here today. Of course, the car who finished in last position there, Vickers, has unfortunately been excluded from the race because of finishing in last position. Normally, it's the bottom 2 cars, but of course, because of the low numbers here today, it is just the last place car. So Vickers will unfortunately not be able to compete in any category during this finale race. So just to remind you then, the front 3 cars, I believe in saying, RCB, Merlin and Glenhouse there, take the
higher powered cars.
RCB, Glenhouse, Merlin and Jamie, I believe, are in the Rallycross WRC category, am I right in saying, with Chuck and XT in the light categories. This will definitely be interesting to see as we get underway then, and away we go for the final race of the evening, this 8-lap sprint, if you like, with 3 Joker laps to have to be completed. Glenhouse, however, has got a great start there on the outside line. Merlin Richards in 2nd position with RCB in 3rd. Jamie, however, in 4th position. He hasn't had the start he wanted. He's still battling out front with some of the light runners there as well. We've got Chuck in 5th, XT in 6th, but out front it's Glenhouse 81 who has cleared away from the rest of the field, and Merlin Richards has made a very early Joker lap, it appears, there, running wide on the outside. He's joined actually by all the light runners as well as Jamie there as well. So it's Glenhouse and RCB who haven't made their Joker lap and they are out front, but Glenhouse has pulled away slightly from RCB, so perhaps he has the advantage then so far in this race as now Jamie tries and finds a way back past Merlin there. The 2 going side by side down the Brands Hatch front finish straight here then, Tom.
Yes, very interested to see the 2 Quattros at the front. Very, very close racing, as we're seeing now. Jamie and Merlin Richards going into the first turn, and just out of sight with the Quattros going into Druids, and they're round Druids, and we'll see who goes onto a Joker lap this lap.
Well, car's coming right, very sideways there for Merlin here. Just like I said, he kicked up the power coming off Druids, and that obviously gave him some wheel spin. Merlin hasn't done a Joker lap this time around. This time it has been Jamie's done his Joker lap, so that will be 2 Joker laps for Jamie. This time making sure he does them very early on, so he doesn't have to worry about them at a later date. Running a bit wide there, coming through that chicane, the final 2 or 3 corners of the Brands Hatch Indy circuit there. That was Chuck, I believe, in front of him. He's got XT behind him. This is, of course, the battle for victory now, the battle for the lead in the Rallycross light category. So it's definitely going to... It'll be interesting to see how this battle develops out front. XT there in 6th position. Chuck there in 5th position. There is Glenhouse, however, the race leader now heading on to his Joker lap. So RCB will take control of the action out front. Now that Sonala, and that I believe is Glenhouse's first Joker lap. RCB has yet to do one. However, now Jamie has done his third Joker lap. So Jamie has done all of his Joker laps, it appears, on the first 3 laps. And now all he has to do is make sure he keeps it on the tarmac and doesn't put a foot wrong and on the dirt on the outside.
Yes, he's got a straightforward race so far as we see the complex strategies of RCB and Glenelgs in play. Should see if that affects their performance in any way, as RCB's on a normal lap, as we've just seen him go through turn 3 and 4. Glenelgs is on a Joker, so that's his second. Thanks for the tip.
Yep, so Glenhouse is heading on to a second now, and RCB out front, I believe, is yet to do one. So RCB now has got 3 or 4 laps now to make sure that that he gets that done, and make sure he tries to keep the advantage he has, or be it small advantage he has over Glenhouse. Behind them, however, it's Merlin and Jamie who are still side by side, and the gap between second and third is pretty big now. So it appears to me that perhaps this race for the victory here today in the Global Rallycross Powered by Core 4th round of the championship is all between RCB and Glenhouse 81 for the win, with the battle for the final podium slots there between Merlin Richards and Jamie 21. Jamie now has a slight advantage. Merlin Richards behind him slightly. I've lost count actually about how many Joker laps each of these have done. No, Jamie's done all his Joker laps, and so I believe has Merlin. So this is now a battle to the finish, a sprint battle to the finish with no tactics having to be imposed. Behind, the battle for the Rallycross Light category between XT and Chuck has pulled out very slightly, appears, with XT being able finally to find a way past Chuck and has pulled away very slightly from him as well, just coming through clearways now and down the start finish straight to head on to the third from last lap. But the battle out front, Jamie 21 even has lost out yet again to Merlin Richards. These two having a great fight. One lap it's Merlin with the advantage, the next lap it's Jamie with the advantage. So therefore these two having a right old ding dong out there, with neither of them having the clear advantage as yet, because both of them are obviously making mistakes somewhere to allow the other driver back past them.
They're very equal. It's just a matter of who puts a foot wrong first. Very much Merlin Richards would be panicking with him in the rear mirror as we come into turn 1, and Merlin Richards looks to be getting away slightly on the second.
Yes, Jamie's definitely lost some ground there because he was closer in the last few laps, really hassling Merlin going through Druids, but this time around he hasn't managed to find that for him, and he has dropped back slightly, just as you said, Tom. There's RCB and there's Glenhouse. Right, RCB is that now. I believe that RCB has 1 Joker lap to go, and with a gap like that, then it appears, Tom, just as you said right at the beginning of the commentary, that Glenhouse 81 appears to be the favourite heading into the final lap, but we'll see if RCB does indeed head off and take his Joker lap, or if he wants to not do that. Of course you have to do it, but some drivers might not decide to do that, so we'll see what happens as they head into Druid. Glenhouse, however, he still seems to be pushing as if he really wants to get up RCB's exhaust pipe here, even though he's pretty much got it comfortably in the bag, and RCB hasn't gone off and done his Joker lap, so perhaps he has already made his Joker lap. I'm not quite sure on that because the camera's been jumping quite a bit. It's hard to keep track on who's done his Joker lap and who hasn't, but it's going to be, it appears, RCB coming out of clearways down the front finish straight, Tom, and he's going to come through here to take victory in round 4 of the Global Rallycross Championship powered by Core. Today's RCB's day as RCB takes victory. The 2 Audi Quattros there actually, first and second. They're not teammates, but what a photo coming across the line there. RCB then taking the victory. Glenhouse 81 in second position. Merlin just managed to get the best of Jamie there, so a great battle between those two for those final positions. And then we're hoping, or we believe even, that XT will take victory in the Rallycross light category. So the battle out front then, RCB, the victor today. Glenn 81 there in second, about 1.2 seconds on the line. Then it was 7 seconds further back, Merlin, Richards and Jamie. It was only 1.2 seconds that separated those two eventually for the final podium slot. Then XT, the victor in the Rallycross light category by 6 seconds or so from Chuck, 15.51 in the CZ3 tarmac rally car there. So Tom, great racing then out there at Brands Hatch today, and hopefully we can have more exciting racing next time out in the Core Rallycross Championship.
Yes, can't wait till the next race. Certainly interesting as a newcomer to GRX. I've never watched a race before. Very interested to see, and I'll be certainly giving it a watch next time.
Well, of course, it's going to be interesting to see that battle develop out front. RCB, of course, the victor then here today. A nice done race there as well from RCB to make sure that he did that as well. So very interesting there as well. Jamie then the victor there in the light category as well. So a very interesting battle there then as well. Jamie being able to keep on terms with the cars in front, even though he was on the light category. So perhaps it shows that the difference between the two categories aren't that strong. So that's something to keep an eye on as well heading into the next round action. So that's definitely very interesting to watch as well. Right then, thank you very much, Tom, for joining us today in the commentary box. It's always a pleasure to have you alongside us.
Certainly worth be showing up, because definitely very exciting form of racing, and can't wait till next race.
All right, and also thank you very much to all the viewers at home. RCB then on top of the game here today at Brands Hatch, and he's also the first double winner in the GRX this season. Have a very good evening. We'll see you in a few weeks' time for round 5 of the Global Rallycross Championship. But until next time, goodbye for now.